Let's go to Shri, who's in Bromley. Hi, Shri.
Hi. Hi. Good evening.
Good evening.
It astonishes me in 2022 that we are still talking about the myth that taxes are spent. And not a single penny, not a single cent of a sovereign government's currency that is raised in tax is spent. It is right there on the Bank of England website. It is right there on the Federal Reserve website. When new money is created every financial year by the government, and any money that is raised in tax is returned to the Bank of England and it is destroyed. And what Liz Truss is doing isn't enough. It needs to be a lot deeper. And one of the big reasons we're in this mess is because Sunak did not cut fuel duty. He should have done 30, 40p cuts. That's what we need to do. Those 40p cuts in fuel tax on petrol and diesel, they would flow through the supply chain and they would have cut inflation right down. But we didn't make those steep cuts. Now, a windfall tax on the energy companies, that money would be destroyed. That is a legal framework. They cannot take that money and stick it. Well, actually, they could because they're the UK, their government. They could take that money and stick it into an account. But if they take the money as a windfall tax, then it will be destroyed on collection.
What do you mean destroyed?
Well, when you take out a loan from a bank, say a mortgage of 100,000, that money is created out of thin air. It is not from someone else's savings or a fraction of their savings.
Yeah, I understand that, yeah.
And therefore, when you
money.
return that loan, new money, exactly. And when you return that loan, that money has disappeared.
It evaporates.
It doesn't go. Yes, and all the bank gets is the profit, which would be the interest. Now, with UK Gov and the Fed, it's slightly more complicated because they have a central bank, which is a Bank of England, and that is not independent from the government. It's in the 1998 Bank of England Act, Section 19. You can read it online. It clearly states that UK Gov can override any decision by the Bank of England at any time for any reason, and they don't have to explain it to the Bank of England. So what happens is the Bank of England creates new money every financial year, whatever the national budget may be, plus extra, and then that money is spent into the economy. And to avoid inflation, they tax it back out again. Now, if they didn't do that, there wouldn't be any value to the currency, because I could raise currency myself and call it Shri notes and issue it to people, and people, essentially IOUs, and people would pay that. But for a national government, by spending money into the economy and raising a tax, it gives value to the currency that they're spending, because you legally have to pay that tax to the government.
But explain again, for bears of very little brain, why if you did windfall tax the producers much more than we are currently, that money would not help solve the energy crisis, couldn't be used in order to rebate customers on paying huge bills.
The financial legal framework that central banks operate around the world, a tax is destroyed on collection. It doesn't go into a pot to be spent. But if you call it something else,
why do we have tax then?
So you have a tax for two reasons. One is to control inflation. But if new money is being created in the economy, primarily by the government, then that can cause inflation across the economy, because we're not a command economy like the Soviets were and the catastrophe that they brought. The market is not efficient.
So hold on, wait, Sri, before my brain explodes.
Yeah.
I pay income tax in order to reduce inflation.
Yes.
I don't pay income tax in order to pay for the NHS, the armed services, health, education.
No, not a single penny, not a single cent of tax since we came off the gold standard has ever been used to pay for government spending. And if you do a search, you just type in taxes never spent in the UK, you can look up several blogs or PDF files and go to the straight bank. There are videos on YouTube where the Bank of England spokespeople state that clearly.
Okay.
Yes.
So, given we're heading into a recession, obviously we have stagflation as well. There's no point in cutting income tax. We have just cut national insurance contributions. But that could stoke inflation then.
No, because when you're heading towards a recession, the amount of demand in the economy has fallen, and not only that.
Okay, I agree with you. I agree. Yeah. I think that it is a marginal, and I think Nix is going to be marginal in terms of repressing or stoking inflation.
And also, we have productive capacity in the economy. We have factories. Okay. So we can create. Government can spend in the economy on infrastructure, on investment, on stimulating demand without causing inflation.
Okay, and just the last question, Shri. All government spending comes from new money printed by the Bank of England every year.
Or Federal Reserve or Bank of Japan, whichever sovereign government. The countries that don't own their own currency.
Okay.
Sorry?
Wow. Yeah. Okay, my brain did explode. Wow. Yeah. Thank you, Shri. Very illuminating.